has been a difficult time for the forces of the Empire in Longningsbrook. Cut off from any reinforcements from the rest of the Empire, the forces in service to Archlector Heinrich von Grunberg have been carrying out their commander's private war against the Beastmen alone. And to many, it seemed to be a losing battle. In fairness, the forces of the Empire have been holding their own against the growing number of Beastmen, but they desperately needed something significant to break the stalemate before the larger number of Beastmen wore down the men of Sigmar. Many hoped that with the arrival of Conrad Sturm would prove to be the edge that the Imperials needed. A decorated war hero from Nordland, Conrad was ordered to aid the Archlector's forces by the Emperor himself, who bequeathed to him a runefang to show the Emperor's support for von Grunberg's cause. Upon his arrival in Longningsbrook, General Sturm was placed in command of an aggressive wing of the Archlector's force, and set to strike out against the Beastmen leadership in the deeper forests. So it was that General Sturm found his forces closing in on the Beastmen generals. According to his scouts, they had been involved in a large battle against the forces of King Alphonius of Bretonnia, and had retreated in the face of the knight's defenses. The general felt that he needed to strike at the Beastmen force quickly before they could return to their lands and replenish their numbers. So he sent the main portion of his force to block the path of the Beastmen, and a small contingent to block off their retreat. As the forces began to engage each other, General Sturm noticed the flags of Bretonnian knights approaching the rear of the battle. He was pleased at the thought that the Bretonnians might join up with his contingents and help drive the Beastmen away. This hope was not to be realized. As he looked on with horror, the Bretonnian knights charged through the Empire forces, trampling those that did not flee in their haste to reach the Beastmen line. The general's jaw clenched at the screams of his dying men, but he showed no other sign of the rage at Bretonnia's betrayal. He then mounted his griffin and said to his commanders, "It seems that we stand alone, gentlemen, and we are outnumbered by our foes. But we are the men of Sigmar, and we shall show our worth is greater than that of the beasts of chaos, or the bastard sons of Bretonnia. Forward, for Karl Franz, for the Empire!" Alright, well this is going to be my first time attempting to do a battle report for a Triumph and Treachery game. In front of you see my Empire army, who has taken 350 points of Ogre mercenaries. Michael is playing his Beastmen, who have taken no mercenaries. And Skip is playing Bretonnians, who have taken 400 points of Dwarf mercenaries. Beyond that, nothing really big terrain-wise. You got a couple of fences right in front of Skip there. The building in the back corner is a Grail chapel, but it really didn't come up. Everything else is normal hills, and the forest nearest me, which I don't know if you can see in this picture, is a poison forest, but it really didn't come up too much. General overview of what the Beastmen have. The left, they've got a unit of Bestigors with Morgor, the level 4 wild shaman in there. Then he's got a big old horde of Gore with Morgrul, his Wargore general, and a BSB in that unit as well. Up front, he has a unit of 5 Chaos Hounds vanguarded. Next to the big unit, he has a unit of Minotaurs with additional hand weapon. And behind that, he has Zola the Gorgon. He also has 2 units of 5-man Ungors that are ambushing, and another unit of Gores with hand weapon and shield that are ambushing. And here you see Skip had to deploy last, so he kind of got stuck in this corner. But left to right here, he has a unit of Knights Errant. He has his level 4 to life in there. He has a Grail Reliquary and a buttload of Battle Pilgrims there. Between those 2 units, you can barely see it, is one of his mercenaries, which is a Dwarf Cannon. Directly behind the Grail Reliquary is a unit of Knights of the Realm with his BSB in there. And then he has a unit of Knights, Grail Knights next to that, and a Bretonnian Lord there. Next to that, he has his Trebuchet, and in front of it, he has a Dwarvish Organ Gun and a Dwarf Engineer to round out the rest of his mercenary force. And my forces up front, I have my 30-man halberdier unit with my BSB in that. There's a 5-man detachment unit up on the side there. Then there's 5 pistoliers. Behind the pistoliers is my giant, who is one of my mercenaries from the Ogre Kingdoms. Directly behind that is General Sturm on a griffin. He's my general with the rune fang. Next to that, behind the halberdiers, is my level 4 light mage Felix. He is on the Luminarch. Then on the other side, you can barely see it under the general's wing, but I have a captain on Pegasus. Then on the hill, I have my hunter, who is the character I have to have for the ogre mercenaries. Next to that is a 20-man unit of great swords, and behind them is a 10-man unit of inner circle knights. And hanging out with the inner circle knights is the battle priest Aaron of Tal on horseback. So I went with a lot of big toys, so I don't have nearly enough bodies here. I'm going to try and do my best to highlight the action that's going on, but if you've never played Triumph and Treachery, it's a 3-way battle, and who goes each turn changes based on the draw of a card, so it may be a little hectic. This is the first time I've tried to report one of these, but I'll do the best to hit all of the important action points. So we're going to get started with the Bretonnians taking first turn with their exciting movement phase, which is the Grail Reliquary inches forward a couple of inches, and that's pretty much it. Skip realizes that he's kind of boxed in here and wants to see where the rest of us are going and get a chance to use some of those dwarven tools that his Bretonnian money is paying for before he has to commit to anything. And the dwarven tools start out pretty good, as you can see by Michael's fingers there. The dwarf cannon slams into Zola and inflicts 3 wounds. Unfortunately, because you can only pick one of your opponents as your enemy during each phase, Skip wasn't able to do much with the organ gun, and then he forgot to use the trebuchet, so not as great a turn as he could have had, but it wasn't bad. Then it was my movement phase, and I decide I don't want that that organ gun attacking me, so I send my knights into it. He throws caltrops down, which halves my movement, but I still end up making it into the organ gun, and it's going to die a horrible bloody death. Then, as you see here, I've decided that if I'm going to be outnumbered, I'm at least going to be outnumbered with style, and I kind of explode outward in every direction. Now, those of you who are actually good at playing the Empire realize what a dumb idea this is, particularly when I don't really have a lot of troops and support. I've got a bunch of big toys. But sad to say, I think that's going to characterize a good bit of my play through this game. But I'm at least having fun with my big toys. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do have my scouting halflings who are moving up to try and shoot the Bestigors. I did use on Skip's turn, I used a card that let me get essentially free shots at the back of the Bestigor, and I think I killed one of them, but I'm not going to kill any of them on this turn. So with no real magic or shooting to note, we go into combat, and obviously my knights eat that organ gun alive. I could have overrun into his engineer, but I chose not to because of the way things work, and if, like on Michael's turn, if he chooses Skip as his enemy, like, we would disengage, and it would just present my flank to that Grail Knight unit and essentially give them a way to sneak out and beat me to death. So I just turned to face them in case things got messy. And over here, I don't even know what I'm showing. Oh, okay, I know what I'm showing. The Minotaurs on Michael's turn tried to charge my Pistoliers, and my Pistoliers fled, ran through the giant, who did not panic, but they end up back here in the middle of everything. But at least they're close enough to my general where I'm hoping they'll rally on my next turn. Then, with that being his only charge, his big old brick of hand weapon and shield Gores appear in the absolute perfect place, thanks to the Beastmen ambushing rule, and their movement brings them to where you can see him. I have nothing facing this side. He is completely behind my lines, and I'm kind of screwed here. I don't know that there's a good answer to them. He also brings on his 5-man Ungor unit in the top corner here to start chasing down my halflings. And then I believe he failed to have the other 5-man Ungor unit come on the board. So this is really all we got to deal with, these nice ninja black Ungors. Oops, and it actually does look like I lied last turn. I did get the Net of Amontok off on his Bestigors turn 1. And it actually pays off for me here. He fails the strength check he has to make to move the Bestigors forward, so they're going to get left behind. And I think he takes 1 wound from the D6 strength 4 hits I have to inflict on him. It's still not much, because he's got good armor and what have you. Everything else over here comes on strong. He's got me chaffed up fairly well with my giant with those dogs, and those minotaurs are coming. They want to mix it up, and I think they're going to get the chance unless Bretonnia does something to get in the way of any of this. And to be honest, he'd kind of be a fool to try. So we go into turn 2, and you can see my knights fleeing. That's because the knights called out to a truce to the Bretonnian Grail Knights, who have agreed that we will not name each other enemies during this entire turn, in exchange for me backing off and not destroying his war machines with my knights. So I agreed to that. We pull back. I think I paid him a couple of coins too, just to be on the good side. And then I moved my hunter up just in case he just tried to betray me, to block up his Grail Reliquae and the Battle Pilgrims. So. And then in this shot, you can see some more stupid by the Empire if you look real hard. First of all, I rally... Well, let me get to charge first. First of all, I charge my Pegasus into the dogs first. They stand, and then I charge the giant into them too, and they stand there as well. So I pretty much put too much there in front of the Minotaurs to take out a chaff unit because I'm dumb. Then I rallied the Pistoliers and forgot to use their ability to move and shoot after rallying from like the feigned flight thing, so I left them sitting there like a lump on the log. And then I advanced everything in the middle and put the archers there as chaff to redirect the Bestigors, to kind of keep them out of my face. I don't know if that's very good. But it's been so long since I played the Empire. I'm still thinking like an ogre because I've given so much time with the ogres. I'm kind of just pushing forward and hoping for my resiliency to lend me a hand, and the Empire really just doesn't have it. So I'm really nervous, and I'm committing way more than I probably should to the Beastmen threat, and just relying on the Bretonnians to honor their word. So if they betray me, I'm absolutely screwed. So magic, I get some buffs off. It's no big whoop. But in combat, we absolutely destroy this unit of dogs. No big surprise. And here is the problem, though. I reform, and when I reform, I leave just enough space for those Minotaurs to sneak by, slam into my captain on the Pegasus, and if they kill it, the overrun is going to clip the back corner of the flank of my Halberdier unit, which was just absolutely dumb. And my opponent saw it too. Like, as soon as I did that reform, Michael just got this shit-eating grin on his face, and I knew I was in trouble. And then we go into Bretonnia's turn, and they, in their defense, they did try to save me from my own level of stupid, and the Knights Errant here do try to slam into the side of the Minotaurs and roll a 2 and 2 1s on their charge distance and don't go anywhere. So not only are they not going anywhere, but now that flank is being shown to the Gorgon, so if the Beastmen really want to push it, he can put some pain on him. And then over here, he's honoring things. I screwed up here by not trusting him and putting my ogre in the way, because he's just bunched in. So all he could really do is slide the Grail Reliquae and the peasants to the side. and try and take some more shots with the cannon and stuff. And at this point, the Beastmen are trying to bribe him to use the cannon on me, and he does bribe, accepts the bribe to be made my enemy, and then I used the coins to bribe his mercenaries to not being able to shoot. So he tries to throw his trebuchet at me, and I think it does something, but not much. So with nothing else going on for the Bretonnians, we move into the Beastman side of things. I have... You can see there, oh yeah, during my turn I did get Briona's Time Warp off on the Halberdiers as just kind of a stay the hell away from me moment. But he tries to charge the archers with the Beastmen, or the Bestigors. I choose to flee, they run off in the direction that you see them, and he chooses not to redirect because he doesn't really want to throw his Bestigors into those always strikes first knights. And you can't really see it in this picture, but behind the forest he's moved up his archer Ungors, and he's going to try and shoot the back of my my halfling huntsman there. And then, exactly as promised, the Minotaurs shoot through the gap and slam my Captasis in the face. I try to flee with him, but he plays a Treachery card that means that I have to stand and take the charge. So my Captasis is just going to get the crap beaten out of him, and that overrun is going to carry him into the side of the Halberdiers, so he doesn't really need to get his big horde into anything, so he just moves it close to support. And then over here, his big gore unit are sneaking closer. I don't remember what I took a wound on, but it's the wound is on the wagon and not the character. But he wants to sneak in there and take out my mage or slam into the back of my Halberdiers. Either way, it's going to be a good event for him and a considerably less good event for me. I'm just glad so far that Bretonnia is playing by the rules of their agreement. So we've resolved the charges. The Bestigors end up rolling ridiculously high and catching and running down my archer detachment. No big deal, they don't get any points for it, but now on his next turn he can sort of reform, and I'm basically surrounded by Beastmen, except for the one area where I have 3/4 of the Bretonnian army blocking any sort of retreat. So not a good day for Empire tactics. And then over here, he does get the roll to bring the Gore on a side of my choosing, and I frankly can't afford to have him on my side. I probably should have put him coming in like on the back, like on Michael's side, but I decided to go ahead and give the Bretonnians something to deal with, and so 5 Ungor appear in their backfield. And then the totally unexpected happens. My Captasis does a wound or 2 to the Minotaurs. The Minotaurs only manage to inflict 2 wounds back on him, so the captain on the Pegasus survives, breaks, runs through the Pistoliers who do not panic, but even the 2 inches the Minotaurs overrun is enough to slam them into the flank of my Halberdiers, which could be messy. However, next it is Bretonnia's turn, and the Knights Errant decide they missed their opportunity on the Minotaurs, so they're going to go ahead and just bring the pain into the side of the entire Gore unit, which I gotta say is ballsy. It's one of those big win, big loss situations. There's a lot of points in that horde, but if he doesn't manage to succeed this, those Gore are going to eat his unit, which has his level 4 mage in it as well. Then over here, he charges at the Gorgon and rolls pathetically, and just sort of barely humps over that first fence. Luckily, I don't think he takes any damage from dangerous terrain there. So, as you can see, the magic phase went really well for Bretonnia this turn. They got, the Knight Errants there got, they had Throne of Vines on already. They got the +4 toughness and the 4-up regen save on that unit. So there is literally nothing the Gore could do to touch any of them. I don't think any of the Knights died. And they just, even with his Michael's general in there, he just couldn't do the wounds. The general might have killed one guy. It was kind of ridiculous. But the Bretonnians did enough damage where, with him not being steadfast because of the number of ranks that the Bretonian Knight Lance had, he needed like 4s rerollable and failed it and got ran down. So huge point swing to the Bretonnians. That's something like half of Michael's army in one unit. Because not only did he get the points for the Gore herd, which was in Horde, it was like 30, 40 dudes, but he also got the General and the BSB in one foul swoop. So absolutely huge point grab for the Bretonnians there, and they basically went from last to first just immediately. So it's Michael's turn next. He ends up succeeding charging these hand weapon and shield gore into the flank of my halberdiers, which, if you will remember from earlier, also have a minotaur in the other flank. So I'm being sandwiched between two units, neither of which I like. My only hope, I still do have the always strikes first and extra attack up. I just need to do more damage than my opponent. And this is kind of what you see. He's reformed the Beastigors up. And I guess this is after combat. Sorry, nothing. I end up using that. My BSB is killed during the combat, but I do kid him down to 1 Minotaur and kill about half of the Gores. And we all stick, I believe. So on my movement phase, I bring the Luminarch slamming into the Gore unit, hoping that the impact hits can do enough to swing this battle, because I don't have much, like my buffs will be going away, and I don't trust getting them back. So I'm just kind of taking a gamble there that the impact hits are going to be enough to make it happen for me. Over here, my captain fails to rally because he's only on a 9 with no reroll. I rolled 10. He runs, and as you can see, he's within a couple of inches of the end of the board at this point. And then my whole basically right side is not moving because I can only declare charges against one enemy per phase, and I've been picking the Beastmen. So, or maybe this... no, actually, I'm sorry. This was the turn I declared... Oh, no, I had to declare against the Beastmen because I charged the chariot in. But you can see I'm bringing the knights up. Hopefully they'll be able to come in and help out a little bit. And then over here, I basically just moved my ogre around. He wants to get into that lone dwarf engineer and the trebuchet that's back there and kind of open up things for me to get in with my big units, or my big greatsword unit and my general into something else. I kind of want to avoid that Grail Reliquary and fly into one of these other knight units, but he's packed real tight in there, and I don't know how possible that's going to end up being. Over here... Oh yeah, I move up my Pistoliers to try and do some damage to the knight unit. I think I do kill 1 or 2 of the knights with pistol fire, which I'll take. I mean, I need to thin something down because the Beastmen are rapidly being depleted, and I am the next target of the Bretonnians once they go. So we go into combat, and things go very, very well for me. I lose another handful of halberdiers, but I end up breaking both units. The Minotaur, as you can see, runs way over there. Unfortunately, he will rally a little later. But the Gore unit has broken. I didn't catch anybody because I chose to reform to face the Bestigors. But there's not enough of the Gore left, so I'll need double ones to rally. So now it's my turn, and I choose Bretonnia as my enemy this time, and slam the giant into the flank of these knights. I'm really hoping to get in there and do a lot of damage to them and make them combat ineffective at this point. I do also succeed in making the charge with the ogre into the dwarf engineer. And I kind of like this. This is the weird thing about Triumph and Treachery. Because you determine random turn order every turn, you can do like I did here and in essence have 2 turns right in a row, and it can really Like, if you can get it at the right time, it's totally random, but it definitely helps out quite a bit. And then I just can't roll for crap, and I'm trying to hit that Knight of the Realm unit that's on the other side of his cannon, fail and stumble just far forward enough so that this Grail Reliquary unit is in the flank of my general. And that is beyond obnoxious. There's just too many bodies. I'm afraid with static combat res, he's going to be able to take me off the table there, and it has me very worried. So nothing else goes on because I can't throw magic for crap. So we go into combat. This ogre hunter slams into a dwarf engineer and flubs. Does absolutely nothing. He doesn't take any wounds either, but I win by 1. The dwarf engineer needs a 9 rerollable because the BSB's within range, and or 8 rerollable, whatever it is. He doesn't go anywhere, so he basically just stopped me dead in my tracks there. Over here, the giant does much better. He ends up doing a couple of wounds. It is enough to break the Knight Errant unit. Unfortunately, I rolled like garbage and didn't catch him, and as you can see by the die next to him, I did take a wound for my trouble. And then the Bretonnians go next, and they don't even have the decency to keep running. The Knights rally and turn around and face the giant right in front of them, who is pretty screwed, because there is no way that that giant is going to survive catching it in the face from a Knight unit. My only hope is that before he gets to charge into me again, I'll get a turn, maybe, and be able to run around and hide behind him. And over here, he actually doesn't choose to charge the pilgrims into me yet, because he wants to get the Grail Knights out. So he chooses to slide them down again. Again, it's going to put him more in my flank, so pretty much whoever goes first between me or Skip in the next round is basically going to be in a much better position. So nothing else really is going on there. So we go to Michael's turn. His Bestigors continue to, or not the Bestigors, I'm sorry. These are the normal Gors, and they continue to flee. His last remaining damn Minotaur rallies and is facing the tasty side of my Pistoliers, which absolutely sucks. I'm doing a lot of damage to him so far, but I haven't collected anything for points other than that organ gun I took turn 1. And I know this was out of order, but I was saving the best for last. The Bestigors do slam into the front of my Halberdiers, and you can see it in the top back corner, his Ungors do slam into the back of my Archers there as well. So, yeah, those Bestigors are absolutely going to cream my Halberdiers. My only hope is that I can go first and weaken them enough for the Knights that are behind that unit to finish them off when it's their turn. And here's just a better look of his 5 Ungors charging the rear of my 10 Archers. Under normal circumstances, I might not be worried about this, but Michael has proven time and time again that his Ungors are actually like the army rangers of the Beastmen army, because they come in, and when they do, they punch way the hell above their weight class, whether it's wounding characters or just wiping out units they have no business in combat with. They definitely get the job done. And then over here, he's using the Knights to play peekaboo with that cannon that you can't see because my general's wings are. So I'll go ahead and spoil something for you. The Gorgon does nothing this entire game except for hide behind Knights to not get shot in the face with a cannon again. So I just got the image of him like hiding amongst the fluttering banners and like peeking out. But that's all he's going to do. So we go into combat. And the Bestigors just absolutely destroy the Halberdiers. I do a few wounds to them, but they break and are run down. And he stops actually, it does look like they're very close, but he's actually stopped an inch in front of my Knight unit. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'll be able to get the charge. We'll be in good shape. You can also see up top he did break my Archers. He did 1 wound. I did nothing back to him, so I lost by 3. I am anywhere close to any leadership buffs, and my archers flee and run towards the middle of the table. His Ungors do choose to give pursuit, so that's where they are. And then, by random luck of the draw, at the top of the next turn, Michael goes first. His Minotaur panics or charges my Pistoliers. They turn and run. The Ungors chase down and destroy my archers, and his Bestigors slam face first into my knight unit. So I really didn't need him to go next. That's really what that amounts to, and it sucks. Then he decides to play the magic game and Bray screams into my knight unit. Ends up miscasting it. Kills half of the knights on the Bray Scream because it doesn't allow armor saves. Miscasts 3, drops a giant template, kills all but 2 knights and the warrior priest, and all but like 3 of his Bestigors, but his character does not get sucked into the warp. So, yeah, it's totally ugly there. And then we go into combat, and there's some blows exchanged. I think 1 more Bestigor dies, and 1 more knight dies. So there's only the champion of the knight unit and my warrior priest left there, and I lose the battle pretty significantly, and end up sticking just because my general is up on the hill behind me. So totally messy turn for me, and it just sucked. And then I don't go yet, so it's Bretonnia's turn next. And although it doesn't look like they're actually touching, both of these lances slam into my giant just to make my day ever so much more peachy. He's pretty much going to die. My only hope is I'm in a position where if I can get the grab and stuff, I can get his mage out of the knight unit in front of me, and that'll at least be some points. And then over here, he finally does decide to bring the battle pilgrims into the flank of my general. And again, I'm really worried here. My general may be able to do some wounds, and probably not take any back just because of how hard he is to wound compared to peasants. But it's static combat res that's absolutely going to screw me here. And I would not be surprised at all if my general turns and flees. So we go to magic phase. He ends up just buffing the living crap out of these units. He ends up strangely enough, chooses Michael as his enemy for the magic phase. And Michael, because of all of the indignities that I've heaped on him this game, basically decided to let him get away with every spell. So the knights are buffed out the yin-yang and faced no defense magically. And then he ends up landing a trebuchet on my character, who it ends up randomizing to the cart, destroys the cart, so my wizard is there running around by his damn lonesome, and is very likely going to get shot apart, in my opinion. And then we go into the combat here. My giant does pick up his damsel and slams her back into the combat unit. Doesn't do any additional wounds, but the damsel is dead, and then he just absolutely rocks my giant's world. It was way more wounds than he needed to do. So even more points to the Bretonnians there, and my force is crumbling super quickly. Then over here, I do finally manage to have my hunter kill that the engineer, but because he just was killed in combat, I can't overrun because he never fled, so I'll have to, on my next turn, charge the trebuchet, which is okay because I'll be going next because I'm the last one to go in this phase. Then in this combat here, I think I kill a couple of peasants, but my general does take a wound of his own, and I'm losing by a lot. But because I have hold the line, I get to toss 3 dice on a break check, and 2 of those dice ended up being 1s, so I'm not going anywhere. So my turn is next, and as promised, I slam my Ogre Hunter into the trebuchet, and I think I got ogre charge on it. Um, but yeah, the hunter is very likely just to eat this trebuchet. So at least that'll be 90 more points to me. And it's getting late. I think it's like 1 o'clock at this point. So we decide this will be the last turn. And I decide, you know what? No guts, no glory. Might as well see if my great swords can do anything. So the Hochland great swords charge off the hill and slam into the front of this Knights of the Realm unit. I'm thinking maybe I'll give them Briona's Time Warp, get them always strikes first, which means they'll go on initiative, but they'll have extra attacks, and maybe I can do something. Over here, I just run my wizard over here to get him closer. I didn't mention it, but I think at the top of this turn is when my Pegasus captain fails to rally for the second time and flees off the board. And during Magic, I do manage to get Briona's Time Warp up on the Hochland Greatswords, but that's literally all I accomplish. I could have gotten more buffs, but I don't know that it ultimately ends up mattering at this point. I'm way down the list of winners here. And ultimately it didn't matter. I don't think I did any wounds. He didn't do any back. I don't break here. And because we were fighting, I had to disengage with the Bestigor so nobody dies there. So that's all she wrote. Lord Tiberius Duchesne stared at the lifeless body of the prophetess Brielle. He knelt before her and whispered a blessing from the lady to his fallen comrade, and commanded the young errants to leave the Grail Chapel. The battle was over. The remaining beasts ran into the forest, and the men of the Empire forces were gathering their losses as well. Neither general said anything to the other, simply allowed each to retrieve their fallen men. Sir Gwyn Ruel approached. He removed his magic helm and knelt before his commander. "My lord, one of the beasts we routed lived. He said his forces were approached by an armored female. The beasts were given the town of Paravon in return for their losses against King Alphonius, along with the spoils to be gained by fighting our band. We were sent here to die, my lord." Duchesne stared blankly at the paladin for a moment, letting the words sink in. Betrayed by his own king? "Leave me, Ruel." The paladin rose, mumbled a prayer to the lady, and left, leaving Duchesne alone with the dead prophetess. Duchesne then felt a warm presence around him, and a delicate hand touch his shoulder. Turning, he immediately fell to a knee as an image of his lady stood before him. A tear fell from his eye as her voice wrapped him like a warm blanket. "My knight, your heart weeps as mine at the loss of one of my chosen children. But she was not the first, and will not be the last to fall in the coming days. Your king has fallen under the spell of chaos. He believes he fights in my name, but I place no blessing upon him. My new champion has been chosen. Go to him now. Take my words to Lord Cartagia. Cleanse my lands. Destroy my enemies. Redeem my son." With that, the image faded, leaving Duchesne to weep. The Grail Knight stood and walked to the top of the chapel. Walking out upon the small balcony near the statue of the lady that looked out upon the muddied and bloody battlefield. The knights stopped what they were doing. The battle pilgrims set down the reliquary, and all stared up at the Grail Knight as he spoke. "Our lands burn, our people are enslaved, and our king is corrupted. We ride to Castle de Montfort. We join Lord Cartagia. We retake our home. For the lady. For Bretonnia." Alright, so that was a absolutely insane game, but after we totaled up the points, it was a very solid victory for Bretonnia. he ended up just doing the most. He was patient. He struck when he needed to and did a lot of damage. Second, the Beastmen actually came in second, purely by points earned, and Empire came in dead last. So, all in all, Triumph and Treachery is a lot of fun, but God, is it crazy. I definitely think it would be better if it was played with four people or more, four or five. With the three players, it definitely seems to turn into one of the things where it's like one person, whoever can wait the longest, seems to win. Because you just let your opponents wear themselves down against each other, and then you strike, and it really is a really big advantage to be able to do that. All in all, though, it was very exciting to see Skip get his second straight win with his Bretonnians. It was very, very exciting to see that go down. So he's gotten one win with corrupted Bretonnians and one win with non-corrupted at this point. But all in all, it was a fun game. Now the Grail Knights and the remaining strong true Bretonnians within the heart of the kingdom have realized Alphonius's duplicity, or I guess him being duped, since he's not even really aware of what he does. But this is definitely gearing up for Cartasia, who has already been joined by the White-Tooth clan of ogres, to have a very powerful force to attempt to reclaim Bretonnia and purge the forces of chaos from it. So, very exciting time in the narrative. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. It was super crazy trying to figure out how to battle report it. I don't know that I took as many pictures as I should have, but I tried to at least get all of the big action. So hopefully it's easy to follow. The weird thing doing the report side that was throwing me off was how jumpy the turns were, because you could go from "it's my turn" to "it's my turn again" immediately. And it was just hard to keep that straight. But it was a good time. We'll probably do some more in the future. But hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you liked the video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments, questions that you might have below, and I'll try and get to them. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.